It's a pleasure to be here with you today, even if it's just virtually. I wish I could have been physically present, but I honestly had the opportunity to be up in Big Sky, Montana, snowboarding during this session, and that's the choice I made. That said, I genuinely believe that you're talking about something of extraordinary importance today. I have spent my entire career in the energy industry. I began in the oil and gas area. This was back in the mid 1980s. I got involved almost exclusively from there in the area of electricity generation. And then in the last 10 years of my career, I have been focused on clean tech, specifically ice energy. Ice energy, I've had the great privilege of being able to help from its beginnings in 2002 as three guys, friends of mine, working in a garage in Fort Collins, Colorado on a prototype of something that they called the Ice Bear, and we still call it that today, but it's essentially a ice battery for air conditioners, so a thermal energy storage system. I believe we're living in what is the most exciting time in the history of the electricity grid since literally the days of Tesla and Edison. We are part of, whether we're working on it or not, we are part of a transformation of our electricity grid from its original central plant fossil fuel-based model to a grid that is becoming less centralized, more distributed, and is becoming more adoptive of renewable energy as opposed to fossil fuel for generation. All of which, by the way, is enabled by energy storage, a key piece to this transformation. I am certainly proud of the role that ice energy has played in this transformation. Our ice batteries have been used by utilities to aggregate the air conditioning load, store energy for the air conditioning load, effectively control that air conditioning load and use it as a resource to accomplish, in one case, the elimination of the need for a gas peaking power plant. In another project we did, it involved the elimination of the need for new transmission lines. In another project we did, it involved the elimination of the need for new substations. A number of our projects involved eliminating the need to upgrade feeders. So we were taking what is really a very small device. The Ice Bear looks and is about the size of a regular air conditioner. And by aggregating these and using their ability to shift when energy is used and not used while still providing cooling, we're solving big grid problems at megawatt scale and eliminating the need for new traditional grid infrastructure. I'd say incrementally moving us towards this distributed new renewable world. Now, I was first exposed to CLEP. This would be a while back. I have a friend who's there today, Press Kabakov, who is involved with me in the Committee for Economic Development of the Conference Board. And he had asked me to take a look at a proposal that his company HRI was making for the redevelopment of Charity. Really fascinating project, and I'd say even more fascinating proposal that his company made in the energy respect. So he had asked for my advice, input on the energy aspect of this plan, and I was really struck by just how forward-looking their energy plan was. He had a terrific team, including a number of the people that are at your session speaking today. And he had a fellow, Myron Katz, who was taking the lead with a remarkably cutting-edge rate design proposal. Basically, a pilot was being proposed in conjunction with the redevelopment that would have a true market-based rate system, allowing participants, ratepayers, utility customers to have a direct involvement in the real market for electricity, both in terms of the costs of consuming and the value of generating. And the idea was this CLEP pilot would incentivize the kinds of investments that consumers, utility payers, as opposed to the utility, that consumers, utility customers, could and would make if they were exposed to the real economics of the grid. And that this would enable, in the case of charity, to be a microgrid. Now, this microgrid model is something that's going on all around the world to some degree. But the problem with, or the challenge of a microgrid, which is the ultimate in, I'd say, a distributed approach to the grid and enabling renewables and requiring energy storage to do that, the key part to it is the investors in the microgrid, whether those are big companies or those are homeowners, the investors in these microgrids have to be exposed to have access to the real economics of the electricity system and the grid. And that's what CLEP was designed to do, and that's, I'd say, what CLEP would do and will do when it's implemented. For me, I see this as a tremendous opportunity for the city of New Orleans if this rate CLEP could be adopted even on a pilot basis, because it would put New Orleans, I would say, at the very forefront of this transformation I described. This movement away from fossil fuels, this movement away from old-fashioned central plant models to the grid of the future that will be distributed based much more like our network of microgrids, and that will enable the much larger and much faster adoption of renewables. And that's the opportunity that you have. And I'm excited about it. I think it's a tremendous, as I said, opportunity for New Orleans. Could be a great model, I'd say, for the rest of the country and really the rest of the world. So I want to thank you all for those of you that are attending, for your interest in this subject. Thank my fellow speakers for actually being there to share their knowledge in this subject. And I sincerely hope that CLEP has a bright future and that you enjoy the rest of this session. Thank you for allowing me to participate by video. I appreciate it.